Are you stuck in a toxic relationship and don't know why you can't leave? So many people stay in toxic relationships not because they're weak, but because the relationship slowly convinces them they can't leave. And if that's something you've felt, you're not alone. Today I'm going to break down why people stay even when they know it's hurting them, and how to finally break free, even if you feel emotionally attached, guilty, or scared of starting over. Because once you understand the psychology behind the attachment, everything begins to change. Hey, I'm Chelsea. I spent years in a relationship where I knew something was wrong, but I still couldn't bring myself to walk away. I kept hoping they would change, and I convinced myself that the good moments were worth all the pain. The truth is, I was scared to start over and even more afraid to be alone. But once I learned why we cling to toxic relationships and how to rebuild my self-worth, everything shifted. I finally broke free, healed, and got my peace back. Now I share what helped me so you don't have to feel trapped the way I did. Have you ever asked yourself, why am I still here? Why does it feel almost impossible to leave even though you know the relationship is hurting you? Why do so many people end up staying in a toxic relationship? You might be thinking, isn't it obvious you should leave if someone is treating you badly? But the truth is, it's almost never that simple. You're not weak, you're not crazy, and you're definitely not alone. There are real psychological reasons people stay in toxic relationships. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what those patterns look like and how to finally break free from them for good. There are 3 big reasons people stay in toxic relationships. And once you understand these, everything starts to make sense. I'm going to walk you through these step by step, and then I'll show you how to break free in a healthy and realistic way. Ready? Let's get into it. Reason number 1, the trauma bond. A trauma bond is not love, it just feels like love, and that's what makes it so confusing. A trauma bond forms when the relationship cycles through pain, apology, affection, hope, pain again. At first, the relationship feels intense, almost magical. There's passion, connection, and deep emotional closeness. You might even think, I've never felt this strongly about anyone before. And that part is real. But what makes it powerful is the contrast. When someone hurts you emotionally, tears you down, withdraws affection, or creates chaos and then suddenly becomes warm, loving, and attentive again, your brain experiences that as relief. And relief feels like love. Think about it. The good moments feel so good because of how deeply the bad moments cut. It's like being emotionally starved and then being given just enough affection to keep you attached. You might be wondering, if it's this painful, why does it feel so real to me? Here's why. Your nervous system is trying to survive unpredictability. The human brain is wired to seek patterns. It wants to believe that the loving version of this person is the real version of them. So every time they show you affection, apologize, or change for a moment, your brain clings to that hope. Not because you're weak, but because you're bonded. Your brain releases dopamine during the good moments and cortisol and adrenaline during the bad ones. This roller coaster creates the same neurological chemistry as addiction. So when you try to leave, you don't just miss them. You miss the emotional high, the relief, the closeness that only comes after the hurt. That's not love, that's withdrawal. Here's the truth. If the same person is the one who wounds you and also the one you depend on to soothe the wound, your nervous system becomes locked onto them for survival. This is why you might say things like, but they understand me. They're not always like this. There's so much history. When it's good, it's really good. Of course it feels intense. Of course it feels deep. Of course it feels special. Because your heart is trying to make sense of chaos. But intensity is not love. Unpredictability is not passion. And a person who breaks you cannot be the person who heals you. That isn't a connection. That is emotional captivity. And you did not choose this bond consciously. It formed because you care deeply and you love deeply. Your ability to bond is not the problem. Your heart is not the problem. The environment you bonded inside of is the problem. And once you understand that, everything starts to change. Think of it like this. Imagine you're starving. Someone gives you one small meal, just enough to keep you alive, and then takes it away again. At first, you don't notice what's happening, but over time, your body and mind start to depend on that person for survival. Not because the food is good, not because the person is loving, but because they've convinced you that they are your only source of nourishment. That's what a trauma bond feels like. Your heart is hungry for affection, safety, and connection, and the same person who starves you emotionally is also the only one giving you tiny doses of love just to keep you from leaving. So of course it feels intense. Of course it feels special. Of course it feels impossible to walk away. Your heart is not broken, it's starving, and now we're going to help you feed it with something real. Reason number 2, you stop trusting your own needs. One of the most damaging parts of a toxic relationship is not the arguments. It's the slow, subtle way you begin to doubt yourself. You stop trusting your feelings, your intuition, your boundaries, your voice. And this doesn't happen overnight. It happens in tiny moments that seem harmless at first. Maybe you tried to express something that hurt you and they responded with, "You're overreacting. You're being dramatic." That's not what happened. You're too sensitive. You always make everything about you. At first, you defend yourself, you explain, you try to communicate. But over time, after enough dismissals, enough eye rolls, enough "you're crazy" comments, something inside you changes. You stop speaking up. Not because you don't care, but because you've learned that speaking up leads to a fight, being blamed, being punished, or being made to feel wrong. So you start doing something very painful without realizing it. You abandon yourself to keep the peace. You might be wondering, but why does it feel easier to stay quiet than to speak my truth? Because your nervous system has learned that silence feels safer than honesty. Your body thinks, if I just stay calm, if I don't disrupt anything, then maybe we'll be okay. So your needs get smaller, your voice gets quieter, your feelings get tucked away, and slowly, you begin to disappear inside the relationship. Let me say something very important. Your needs are not too much. Your feelings are not the problem. Wanting love that feels safe is not asking for too much. Healthy love welcomes your needs. Toxic love punishes them. And here's the alarming part. Once you stop trusting your own feelings, you also stop trusting your ability to leave. Because if you can't trust yourself to know what's real, you can't trust yourself to make the right decision. This is how toxic relationships keep you stuck. Not through strength, but through self-doubt. Analogy to make this hit harder. It's like having a compass, but someone keeps turning it when you're not looking. At first, you try to correct it. You try to point north. You try to stay grounded. But after a while, you start to think, maybe I don't know which direction is right anymore. And when you can't trust your own inner compass, you stay where you are. Not because it's good, but because you don't feel confident navigating your way out. Here's the truth, and it may feel heavy, but it's also freeing. You didn't lose your voice, you just stopped using it to survive. Your voice is still there, your intuition is still there, your clarity is still there. It's just waiting for you to feel safe again. And that is exactly what we're going to rebuild. Reason number 3, you're in love with their potential, not their reality. This one is the hardest to admit, not to me, but to yourself. Most people in toxic relationships are not actually in love with who their partner is today. They are in love with who their partner was at the beginning, who their partner sometimes shows they can be, and who their partner promises they will become. You're in love with the potential, and that potential feels real because you've seen it, even if only in rare moments. You remember the version of them who listened, held you, cherished you, looked at you like you were their world, said all the right things, and made you feel seen, chosen, special. And you hold on to that version like it's the truth, because letting go of that version feels like letting go of hope. But here's the painful part. The beginning wasn't the relationship. The beginning was the audition. They showed you just enough love to make you stay. And now you're trying to spend the rest of the relationship getting back to a moment that was never meant to last. You're not trying to fix the relationship you have right now. You're trying to return to the version of them that felt safe. And every time things get bad, you tell yourself, well, they weren't always like this. Maybe they're just stressed. We've been through so much together. I know the good person they can be. But listen closely. If the good version of them only shows up after they hurt you, that's not growth. That's damage control. And this is where hope becomes the trap. Because you remember the good moments. Your heart keeps waiting for them to come back. Hope becomes the leash. You think, if I just love them in the way they need, if I just stay patient, if I just don't trigger them, if I just hold on a little longer, maybe this time they'll finally change. But they don't. The cycle resets. And every time the cycle resets, your standards get lower. Your tolerance gets higher. Your identity gets smaller. That's how people lose themselves in toxic love. Not all at once, but piece by piece. It's like watching a plant slowly die. But telling yourself, if I just water it one more time, maybe it will bloom like it used to. But here's the truth. You are not watering a plant. You are pouring life into something that has no intention of growing. You deserve love that doesn't require you to suffer first to earn the soft parts. Love should not feel like constant effort. Love should not require you to prove you are worthy. Love should not feel like a fight you are always losing. And here's the real heartbreak. You weren't wrong to love them. You weren't foolish. You weren't naive. You just believed them. You believed the good moments. You believed the promises. You believed in growth because you love deeply. But now it's time to love yourself that deeply. And that's the shift we're going to make next. Now that you understand why you stayed, I want to walk you through how to break free in a way that feels realistic, grounded, and safe. I'm not rushing you. I'm not shaming you. And I'm not saying just leave. We are rebuilding your strength from the inside out because leaving a toxic relationship is not just walking out the door. It's walking back into yourself. So let's take this slowly, gently, and powerfully, step by step. Step 1. Tell the truth without softening it. Not the hopeful version, not the, but they have a good heart version. Not the version where you excuse the pain to protect them. The real truth. Ask yourself, do I feel safe in this relationship? Do I feel valued consistently, not just occasionally? Do I feel more myself or less myself when I'm with them? Say the truth even if it hurts. Say it quietly. Say it only to yourself if you need to, but say it, because clarity is the first doorway to freedom. Step 2. Stop trying to fix or save them. This is where most people get stuck. You may have believed, if I just love them harder, they'll heal. If I stay patient, they'll change. If I just communicate better, they'll finally understand. But listen closely. You did not cause their wounds, so you cannot cure them. Someone who wants to heal will seek healing. Someone who wants to grow will choose growth. Someone who values you will protect your heart. Your love cannot do that work for them. Your love deserves to be received, not drained. Step 3. Begin rebuilding your relationship with yourself. When you've been in a toxic relationship, you don't just lose peace, you lose yourself a little. So reconnect with you. This doesn't have to be big or dramatic. Start small. Ask yourself, what do I feel right now? What do I need today? What brings me peace, even for 5 minutes? What parts of me have I been silencing? Your voice didn't disappear. It just got quiet so you could survive. Now we invite it back slowly, gently, steadily. Step 4. Don't do this alone. Toxic relationships create isolation. Breaking free requires support. That could mean a therapist, a trusted friend, a support group, a mentor, someone who sees you clearly. Say something as simple as, I think I need someone to talk to about my relationship. You don't have to explain everything at once. You don't have to have the right words. You don't have to be ready to leave yet. You just have to let someone in, because healing isn't a solo mission. It's a return to connection, just with the right people this time. You didn't stay because you were weak. You stayed because you loved deeply. You hoped deeply. You cared deeply. Those are not flaws, those are strengths. Now it's time to turn that love inward, not as a punishment, but as a coming home. Because the truth is, you don't have to earn love. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to shrink yourself to be chosen. You deserve love that feels safe, steady, kind, consistent, soft, honest. And you deserve to recognize yourself again. This isn't a journey you need to walk alone. If this helped you see yourself more clearly, stay close by hitting the subscribe button to join the community. And if you are wondering whether you're in a toxic relationship, the next video titled, How to Know If You Are in a Toxic Relationship, breaks down the 5 most common toxic red flags you should never ignore. Click the video showing on your screen to find out if your relationship is healthy or harmful.